Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3, and we are back once again with something special for you. Something very, very special. I am back once again with the connoisseur of all reporting, my co-host for True Rewind, Mr. Romeo Anthony Colon.
Great shirt I just noticed. Great street fight, one final beat, I remember.
No, not that one.
Oh,
Or 2018 when their feud was fresh.
oh, got it.
We are back with something very interesting, something unique for you, the viewers of True Hill Heat. We are here with our The Undertaker, The Last Ride documentary review. Yes, we are going to review each and every episode of the 5-part series of The Undertaker, The Last Ride with SP3 and Romeo. Yes, you will hear my reactions to all of the information we learned throughout this entire documentary. But before we get into anything, please, if you can, push that like button. It's free. It helps the channel and it helps the YouTube algorithm recommend us to other pro wrestling fans like yourself to see all the great content right here on True Hill Heat. And when you do that, you can also push the iCard down at the bottom or the subscribe button down below this video and push the bell to stay notified for all the great content right here on True Hill Heat. So, let's get into it. The first part of The Undertaker, The Last Ride on WWE Network. You can watch it on demand. This was very, very interesting for me. This was a very interesting 60 minutes to sit down and watch so we can review it for the channel. Romeo, you're going to quarterback this one. Take it away.
Episode 1. I think it was called My Greatest Fear. Do you remember what it was called, the subtitle?
Yes, it
Or
was
The Greatest Fear, something like that.
The Greatest Fear is the title of episode 1.
All right, so we're told that this is taking place from 2017 to 2020. This is a unprecedented look behind the scenes of Mark Calloway, the man, the Undertaker. We start in Orlando, and one of the first quotes that the Undertaker says is, "I used to be a tough son of a bitch. What happened?" Well, right away, you see there's some confidence issues going on with Mr. Calloway.
I wonder why.
And we see Taker walking around. Taker is hobbling.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to see, he's like, my mom's had 2, hip surgeries, and, she had a surgery on her quad, and she walks around better, and she has a cane, so she walks around better than The Undertaker, man. It was sad to watch him some of these times.
Taker says he can't work a full schedule to nobody's surprise. The way he said it seemed like, oh, you're breaking news there, Mark. But he says he loves and respects this business. That'll be one of the first excuses we hear of why he's still wrestling.
Is it? But okay. I'm just gonna say this. Shouldn't that be a reason to stop wrestling?
We got a throwback to Survivor Series 1990, the debut of The Undertaker. Look at the size of that hammock.
Great call by Roddy Piper.
Ric Flair calls it the greatest character in the history of the business. We start talking about the WrestleMania streak, which Undertaker says he didn't even notice until someone brought it to his attention. The Undertaker uses the streak as an excuse to perform once a year. He has to come back and defend it. That's what he says.
I mean, that was nice when you had the streak. And once he didn't have the streak, what's the reason to keep coming back? That's what I want to know. That's the answer that I need from this series. It's what's the reason to come back once the streak is over? Maybe in your quarterbacking, you got a note here that explains that, because in these reviews, Romeo gets the best notes. He's like the best kid in the class. So maybe you got something that I didn't notice from this.
Undertaker describes his routine for preparing for Mania, and this is just sad. He says he prepares for Mania, he has the match, then he has a surgery to correct whatever was bothering him in training for the match or any injury that came from the match. Then he rehabs, and then he trains all once again for the next WrestleMania. What do you think about that schedule? Triple H explained how he goes through the same, and it's the hardest thing he has to do in life.
And that's why Triple H was so happy to not be on WrestleMania this year. He was like, I am totally fine with not wrestling this year. I am good. Because it's not easy. Your body wrestling all those days a year is gonna be conditioned to all the bumps and everything. But if you're not doing it for an extended amount of time, those bumps and those bruises and those injuries will compile, and you're gonna feel it more. You don't have the adrenaline rush going. You don't have the day-to-day traveling, so you're gonna feel it a little bit more, especially when you're older. When you get in those 40s to 50s, he's now in his mid 50s, man. He's feeling it.
We see Undertaker working at the Performance Center 2 days before WrestleMania 33. He describes how he was sore after his matches with Shawn Michaels at Mania 25 and 26. He says the match at Mania 27 against Triple H was brutal. That's when he was carted out. He said he spent 2 days in the hotel afterwards just trying to absorb the pain from that match. Then he had his hip repaired, and he said he felt good at Mania 28 and 29, those against Triple H and CM Punk.
Even though he never said the word CM Punk.
No, why? Why did we say that? Then we get to WrestleMania 30. And he describes he does not remember this match. He doesn't know when he was concussed. He says his last memory of that day was 3:30 in the afternoon. Of course, the streak ends. Brock Lesnar, 21-1. Backstage, Vince asked for help. The trainers describe how they remember seeing Taker was like happy and dazed and had no idea where he was.
Hey.
I mean, that's ambulance coming for Taker right now. Michelle says Vince and Brock go to check on Undertaker at the ER.
This is what I've been waiting for. Like, I have heard for the past 6 years all about this story, on and on and on. Like, okay, Undertaker passed out once he got behind the curtain. They had to rush him to the hospital. Vince, in the middle of WrestleMania, puts down his headset, follows them to the hospital to make sure they're good. But what I never heard from anyone is that the next big thing, the man that defeated the streak, the one in 21-1, and the greatest Universal Champion of all time, Brock Lesnar, also was also in the SUV and followed them to the hospital to make sure the Undertaker was good, because Brock Lesnar is a consummate professional. Don't let SummerSlam 2016 fool you. He is a consummate professional.
Respect to Brock Lesnar. Remember that guy who didn't do the same for New Jack?
Vic Rhymes, you got what you deserve. Bombs away.
Taker makes everyone in the ER laugh, saying he's not dead. And he says he didn't know his name until 4 a.m. Wow. Taker says that match destroyed his confidence. We fast forward to WrestleMania 31. We see an interview with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt says he didn't know his confidence was destroyed. Bray Wyatt was nervous himself. And then we see backstage Triple H. Undertaker is preparing for his match. He's on one knee. And Triple H comes up to him, gives him a pep talk, says, "Remember who the fuck you are. Fuck last year." And Taker says that talk restored a little bit of his confidence.
Triple H showing that he could be a great leader and a great motivator. I mean, he shows it with NXT most definitely, but to show it right there with a veteran that had more years on him, but someone that definitely had that he has the respect of the Undertaker, and to show that he can have that type of impact on them says a lot about Triple H as a leader.
Undertaker talks more about the idea of losing his confidence was not something that he could ever imagine happening. He describes remembering it happened to Ric Flair at WrestleMania 18, and Undertaker had to get that confidence out of Ric Flair. Similar, Triple H does the same for Undertaker here. After the match, Undertaker jokes with Vince McMahon backstage, saying he remembers his full name this year, Mark Calloway.
That was a good one.
Taker says he's getting his confidence back, but he's getting more wear and tear on his body. Remember, after that WrestleMania, he wrestles more frequently. We see highlights of him at SummerSlam against Brock Lesnar. And then we also see, fast forward, Mania 32, Hell in a Cell against Shane McMahon.
That was awful. I mean, I will say that I am happy that he did get a little bit of confidence back, because the feud with him and Brock Lesnar in 2015 was one of the highlights of that year. In my opinion, they definitely did good business with each other. They drew good ratings, if I remember correctly, and they did good buy rates on those matches at SummerSlam and Hell in a Cell. So I am happy that he got his confidence back there. I just wish that, WrestleMania 32 did not become Injury Mania, and he could have had, a more high profile match with someone like a John Cena or whoever else he was supposed to go against that wasn't named Shane McMahon. So I understand why his feud continued after a match with Shane McMahon. I wouldn't want that to be his final memory, but I just wish he would have stopped after 2015, because that was the last time he even looked halfway decent.
We fast forward to Royal Rumble 2017, and Undertaker says he knew he had no business being in the ring.
I was watching that and I was like, I knew too. I knew right there too. Like, that's the way it all started. Like, I was like, man, I'm good. I was like, man, the only way this is okay, like, bro, Roman doesn't really get anything from beating the Undertaker at WrestleMania now that he doesn't have the streak. I was like, the only way this is good is if Roman is ending the Undertaker's career. Because I was like, in my mind at the time, this is before my love and admiration of Roman Reigns went into overdrive. I was just like, Roman beats the Undertaker at WrestleMania and retires him. He's a heel. He's the top heel in the business. He's gonna be the hottest thing since sliced bread, since Hollywood Hulk Hogan. But WWE had other plans. But I did think, I was like, in this moment when he was at the Royal Rumble, I was like, okay, if it's Roman versus Undertaker, the only way this is good for Roman is if he's the guy that retires the Undertaker.
We see the Undertaker talking in the van in Orlando. And these are some great quotes. He says his match should be someone else's. He explains the young guys making the shows throughout the year, and that it's his duty to show he is worth putting the Undertaker on the card. One of his biggest fears is becoming a parody of himself. It kills him to think that some dad is telling his son that, oh, you should have seen the Undertaker 10, 15 years ago. He can move.
I've been telling my son that too. My son's only 2 months old. I've been like, yo, you should have seen this guy. You should have seen this guy when I was your age. He could move. I understand the fear concept, and it was an appropriate title for this episode, The Greatest Fear, because you could see a lot of the doubts and the fears. And this was a really great episode because it showed Undertaker in the most humanized light that he's ever been shined on. So I did like this for that.
Scott Hall says he had no problem with Taker earning more than him. He's earned it. Thanks, Scott Hall.
Yeah, okay, Scott. Yeah, okay, Scott. This is 2020 Scott Hall talking. This ain't 1996 Scott Hall, because I guarantee you, Scott Hall in 1996 used the Undertaker's pay to go back at Vince like, if you're not going to offer me more than this guy, then I'm going to WCW, Chico.
See Taker backstage at the Hall of Fame talking to Michael Hayes and Gerald Briscoe, and he says, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
And that's what it really felt like. It really felt like that, like, Not even at this WrestleMania, but really, yeah, nah, it did feel like it felt like this every WrestleMania after the streak. Every WrestleMania after the streak, it just felt like the Undertaker can't leave. They can't leave well enough alone.
Taker says he's not happy just showing up and taking it easy. He wants an Undertaker WrestleMania match that's befitting of who he is, or he's going out on his shield.
I guess we gonna see the latter. I guess we gonna see the Undertaker fall out on his shield because he ain't never getting that. Like, dude, if unless he counts what we got this year at a match that he can take 8 takes and 8 hours to film, that's the only way we're gonna get a match befitting the Undertaker character at this point.
Roman Reigns says there's pressure being Taker's last opponent. Surreal. And that he has to give Undertaker the last ride that he deserves. We start talking about how tough the Undertaker is. We see footage of him getting caught on fire in the Elimination Chamber. Remember that one? That entrance. Second-degree burns, pouring water all over himself in the pod. Foley describes how Taker had a broken foot during their Hell in a Cell match and that they don't come any tougher than the Undertaker. Taker says it's all about not embarrassing yourself, not embarrassing the company, and not embarrassing Vince McMahon. And then we fast forward, we're back in Orlando. We see Taker with the doc, the trainer. He has a cortisone shot in his knee. He looks in rough shape. It looks like he feels better after the shot. Says his body at the time was at the limit of what it could take. Taker also says that not one time has he ever not been nervous before a WrestleMania match. Then we have the Taker versus Roman match. We see highlights of that. Taker moving horribly, but they're getting through it. Spear through the table. Taker rises up. See the botch of Roman trying to pick up Taker in the tombstone position. See shots of Michelle in the crowd holding one of their daughters who either didn't want to watch or is sleeping, one or the other.
I think sleeping.
Then we remember that awesome super spear from Roman Reigns. Not as good as the one you did on Baby Seth, but it's up there.
I was gonna say he was the inspiration for the one I did on Baby Seth. This is the spear. This is the spear that inspired me. I will say during this whole segment, I was like, well, WWE production at its best again, trying to make chicken shit look like chicken salad. They tried to dress this up, try to make it look good, and then they showed the botch, and I was like, okay, at least they honest. At least they ain't fully try to like revisionist history this and act like it didn't exist.
We get the sad Undertaker piano music. We see Michelle wiping away tears. Taker, we remember, leaves his gear in the ring. We see a shot of someone in the crowd mouthing, he's retiring. Kiss Michelle. Tears everywhere in the crowd. Grown men crying. It's a beautiful picture perfect goodbye.
Man, that one black guy, he was an ugly crier. He had his face was full of tears. He was like the tear emoji. He had so many tears on his face. I mean, I will say I was there live. I know you were there live as well. It's one of the it's in my opinion top 3 greatest retirement ceremonies that any WWE superstar has ever received. It's one of the best closing of a chapter that anyone could have ever received. And yes, he ruined it.
Very somber and melancholy leaving that stadium that night. Remember that?
Yeah, there was a lot of sadness, uncertainty. It didn't like there was a lot of. It did not feel like this was the same night that the Hardy Boys returned. Like that energy and that excitement that was there just 2 or 3 hours before when the Hardys returned was completely gone by the time you left the stadium. You were just sad because not only did you thought you saw one of the greatest legends and greatest gimmicks and greatest superstars in WWE history retired, you saw him retire and look like he needed to retire.
We see Undertaker backstage after that match. First person or first wrestler that he comes across with is Triple H. They both hug. They both seem very emotional. Triple H says, "Hell of a run." Shane greets him. Michelle hug. She talks him up. Says it seemed like he was turning into her husband by leaving his gear in the ring. She says she's heard it before that he's done, but this time, him showing his vulnerability out there, that said to her that this was it. Poor Michelle. Poor Michelle.
I laughed. I laughed so much I knocked out the mic. Oh my god. Yo, I laughed so much when I heard her say this. I was like, yo, she was worked. She got worked too. I was like, he worked all those fans in the building, all the fans at home, all the Roman Reigns. Oh my God, Triple H. Oh my God, his own wife, his own kids. He worked everybody. Everybody thought it was over. Everybody thought he was retiring. You know who didn't? You know who didn't think that was You know who didn't? Who? Who? This guy. Everybody was like, the next. Well, I hope we get into WrestleMania 34 and all the rumors, because we could talk about it. Our early years on True Hill Heat, it wasn't even here on the channel. We haven't uploaded the archives yet on the old True Hill Heat. I told everybody, I was like, I hear the rumors. Undertaker's coming back at WrestleMania 34. Everybody's like, he's just coming back for one more match. He's just coming back to fight John Cena. John Cena has to make it right because Roman Reigns couldn't give him a good match. No one has been able to give him a good match except for AJ Styles, Bruce Pritchard, Triple H, and a whole bunch of takes and 8 hours of filming. That's the only great match he's had at WrestleMania since this one. So don't blame Roman Reigns. It just wasn't possible.
Backstage, the roster's giving Taker a standing ovation as he holds hands with his wife. Someone interviews him and he says, it feels surreal. It's going to take some getting used to being retired. We see him in the training room. He is hurting. Vince entered the training room, wondering why he didn't get a greeting from Undertaker on the way out. Vince thanks him, and Taker asks Vince if Vince is happy, and that's all that matters. Vince is happy. But then we see a quote from Vince by himself. He says, Undertaker told him that if we ever get to a situation where I can't go up there and perform, you tell me. And Vince says, I think most people could sense he was trying, but he wasn't all there, and he knew in his heart that he wasn't all there. Think about that quote from Vince McMahon.
That was a deep one, man. Like, I feel like Vince is, I don't know the best way to like quote this. Vince is like I don't know, like, it's not even like a father-son type of relationship. It's like a boxing trainer and a boxer in the 1970s. Like, you want this boxer to keep going out into the ring because you know he's gonna make you money. But in the back of your mind, you're like, damn, is he too old for this? Should I not tell him to go to the ring? Should I pull him back? But no, I don't want to go against him. I don't want him to think I don't believe in him. It's like that quote right there is told that the conflict and the doubts and the fear that Undertaker is going through during this documentary in his head, Vince is also going through it as the promoter of this Undertaker character. He knows that it's the end of the line and that he's trying to drag him for a couple of more pennies, but is it worth it in the end?
I hope we get a lot more Vince quotes going forward with the Undertaker returning, because we see a preview for the next episode, which is coming up this Sunday. We see Taker watching back the match with Roman and seeming disgusted, very disappointed. We see some surgery on Undertaker's hip, very graphic, no warning. That was rough to see. And then we see him meeting with Vince McMahon and him talking about he needs redemption.
I mean, he probably needs a lot of things, but I don't know. I think he's still waiting on his. Is he still waiting on his redemption?
I think
Or
that's
did
an answer we're gonna get watching this series.
I guess his redemption is WrestleMania 36. Let's see if it ends on that. But
Do
I'm
you think
interested.
that's what we're leading to by the time this five-part series is over? Do you think we'll get some kind of declarative statement from Undertaker saying that he's redeemed, or that he needs one more match, or that maybe he's even retiring? What do you think we're the end game is with this series called The Last Ride?
I think that we are in for one more Undertaker match. I think that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen soon. We will talk about on.
Mania.
If you're watching this before we've released the video, maybe you could watch it already if you're watching it a little bit later. But on True Hill Heat 74, we're going to reveal some inside information on when WWE is supposed to have live shows again. So we'll talk about that. So maybe when they have live shows again, we get that one more Undertaker match, or maybe they wait till WrestleMania 37 in Hollywood. But I think we're in for at least one more Undertaker match.
And that's the end of episode 1.
Overall, I liked it. I like where this series is going, humanizing one of the more the greatest over the top gimmick in wrestling history. There's been a lot of over the top gimmicks, but nothing like an undead zombie that has last 30 years, like 30 years of the Undertaker, and this is the first time that he has been humanized even more than the American Badass, because that was a little bit over the top too, because it was the Undertaker, who is a red-headed Texan times 10. So even that was a little bit emphasized, but this is the most humanized the Undertaker has looked. So I love where this series is going, and I'm glad that you have asked me to review it with you, Mr. Romeo.
This is going to be quite the adventure. We still got 4 more to go.
I'm sure my eyes will wind up at the back of my head plenty of times. So you know what to do. Push the like button if you enjoyed this video. I know we get a lot of views, but if we would very much appreciate it with your view, even if you're viewing us for a couple of seconds, push that like button, push the subscribe button to stay notified, and the bell to stay notified for all the great content right here on True Hill Heat. So for Romeo Anthony Colon, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This is part 1 for us of the review for The Undertaker, The Last Ride, The Greatest Fear, Episode 1. And we are signing off until next time.